All right, man. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick breather and then we're going to come back and we are going to be grading our draft class and looking towards this off season. But stay tuned for this. This is our guy, Mr. Anton Benson, Awesome Artisans. Check him out. Yeah, buddy, that's my guy, Mr. Anton Benson of Awesome Artisans. You can find him on Instagram, awesome_artisans, and definitely get in touch with him. He might be stuck in a little snow, so he might be down for a little bit of time right now. But when he gets up and mobile, he definitely travels. He does good work, so definitely tune into him. Welcome back to Washington Football Weekly. That's my guy over there, South Carolina's finest. It's your boy, Sean Spencer. We have been talking about Washington, our favorite moments. When did we know JD5 was it? And which players surprised us throughout this season? It was such a great season that we definitely have to recap. And if it was up to us, we would continue to talk about it. But one thing I like about this guy over here is that got to move forward. Always about taking that next step. And what's our favorite time of the year? The off season. But we still got to look back a little bit. We still got to look back because we got our first draft class under the Dan Quinn, Adam Peters sort of regime, and they did well. Yeah. They did well. We might have questioned them in the moment. I will say I questioned them a lot in the moment. Mm-hmm. JD5 over Drake May. I still question that, but it's all good. It's all good. But let's go into it. Do you have an overall grade for the draft?
Oh, I don't.
Yeah, I don't either. So I was just going to let us go through. Yeah. Because obviously you can go first pick and all the rest if you would like to.
That's kind of how I have it. Yeah. Well, I've got based on every pick, like grading the player.
That's what I did. I did. So, yeah, basically with the first pick, we already know what it is. Jaden Daniels, number 2 pick overall. We get him out of LSU, former Heisman Trophy winner, 100% A+, extra credit, whatever it is you want to say, Will.
A+. I mean, I debated A or A+, but he had a beyond expectations of the rookie. I picked him to win the Rookie of the Year in August. Got some money off that here in February, which was kind of nice. But I didn't expect him to be like this, So he was incredible. Easily A+.
Oh yeah, so worth it. You had to cross state lines for it.
Right? I did. It's got me thinking, what else do I need to go up to the state of North Carolina to make some wagers?
Right. Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, 100%. Very easy. Didn't even need to think about it. Now let's move into the bulk of it. The number 2 pick, Jazon Newton out of Illinois. I'll go first. Yes, when we first heard this, we were kind of sitting here like Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen. I think we had Ridgeway at the time. Big Phil, Darius Mathis. We didn't need this position. There was a lot of other positions that we thought were a lot better, but this was the best player at the time in our eyes, and they knew what they were doing. I gave this a B. I thought with the injuries, he was able to come in and play. He played his role, but there was a lot of times, especially towards the end of the year, where he really started to separate himself to where it's like, okay, Newton's in the game. Oh, snap. Oh, he's making some big plays. I think it was a play against maybe Philly in the last game. I think it was right around the goal line where it was a second down and Saquon, and they handed it to Saquon, and he just shot through there and made like a shoestring tackle, and that would have been an easy touchdown for them. Like Newton, I had watched him at Illinois, so I knew he could be a game breaker, but along with the fact that I didn't think we needed that position and the fact that I was like, there's a couple other guys that I was looking at personally. I thought it was too early, but I thought he definitely did what I thought he can do with the role that he was given. I got to give him a B for that.
I gave him a B as well. He was a surprise of a pick, and then we also started going, okay, well, they're drafting for the future. We kind of understand that. He started off the season slow with the injuries, like you mentioned, but then he started to come on, and especially when Allen went out and we needed him to play, he came on. And I heard something today that he may have had more tackles than both Allen and Payne, and he played less snaps in them. So essentially, he was making more of an impact while out there. And the other part about it is he is a different type of defensive tackle. He's quicker off the ball, off the snap. And so he's able to get into the backfield a little bit faster than who Allen and Payne are. So he brought another element to it. So I certainly think it not only is building for the future. We'll see what happens this offseason if with Jonathan Allen, but it was a surprise pick, but it was a good choice.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Moving on to the next one, I'll let you go first. Mikey Samerstill from Michigan.
Mm-hmm. I give him an A. Okay. I debated between A or A plus, and I don't have any minuses, by the way. So I'm just either that the letter or a plus to it.
I like your grading scale.
Yeah. It reminds me of Herndon High School here.
Right.
Yeah, 90 to 93 is an A. 94 and above is the A plus, maybe.
A plus,
or is that a B plus? Was a B plus a 90 to 93? I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was B. Yeah, and then because 94, 96, or 94, 96, or 97 was an A.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a 92 and you're only getting a B plus. But Sandra still came on throughout the season the way a rookie should, but it was the ability to go play outside. He was drafted to be that Cooper DeJean type role, and he had a chance to do it in the beginning of the season. And then when forced out of necessity to take on a different role, he did it with no fanfare. He just did his job. He ended up playing really well, and he became, now he is a cornerstone part of our defense in some capacity. And he's going to be a leader in the locker room in year 2 as well. So he was a great selection by them.
Oh, absolutely. So I went B, and the only reason is because I want room for improvement. I also think he far exceeded my expectations. There were some moments where I thought his size, which he can't do anything about, kind of, prohibited him from maybe not making the play, but being as dominant as I would have liked. That Lions game, yes, that was absolutely great. And I don't care that Jameson threw the terrible pass. It was 2 interceptions. All right. He was there. He made the play, and I'm with it. Saber still is a dude. I think he played great, but there's still enough that he can still learn. There's still room where he can grow and improve. He's one of the guys that just makes me so excited for this upcoming year. Having a year under his belt, that experience does more than any video, any film, any of that can teach you. So the fact that he was on there, solidified himself as a key piece, now going into the future, he can only get better. So I'm far believing that he'll exceed my expectations going into next year, barring any injury, anything like that. But I got a B plus right now, but that's just because I don't want to get too amped up on. I want to, he still has stuff that he needs to work on, but I have no issues. I definitely like the A grade as well. But you know how I do. I definitely grade on a curve, a hard curve.
Yes, you do.
Jaden came this close to getting a C from me. All right, this close. All right, and look, I'm going on to the next one. This is the first one where I get my famous grading scale comes in. Ben Sinnott from out of Kansas State, incomplete. I just don't have much. I think he had a couple catches. Obviously, we know about the fake punt in the championship game where he was able to catch that one. But other than that, he was behind Ertz. He was behind John Bates. He really just did not get any kind of real attention. I don't know if they just put him in as a blocking tight end, or maybe he was not getting the offense right away, or maybe he was just buried on the depth chart. Bates was a good blocker, and in that scheme, he definitely worked. And Ertz played amazing for us this year, being our second leading receiver overall. So, you're not going to get that many opportunities if the two guys ahead of you are playing and doing their role. So I can't really judge Ben Sinnen on much. So I gave him incomplete. I still want to hold out that he can be a key piece. Ertz can't play forever. And we'll talk about kind of if we want to leave this position alone in the draft or in free agency and where we're going with that. But thinking that we might stay with these guys, I want to give him another year to see if he actually gets more involved in the offense. What do you think?
Yeah. So I'm going to be a little harsh with my grading, but I want you to know, Ben, if you're out there watching us, I have a lot of hope for your future. I have a lot of belief that you're going to play a much larger role. I'm grading this based on the fact that you were a second-round pick, and what was your contribution in year one as a second-round pick. And so for that, I gave you a D+. Because of the fact that there were no impactful plays out there.
Right.
And like to your point, I think Zach Ertz probably surprised him a little bit more how much he had left in the tank. I think I don't think the coaches knew what they had in John Bates' blocking ability, and they really liked him from what we've heard. And so it's not his fault that he got buried behind two guys on the depth chart. But if you're going to be picked in the top 50 slots or 55 slots, and you're a team that won 4 games, they need production out of you. They're expecting production. And it didn't happen. So I still I'm very intrigued to see what happens in year 2. And I'm very intrigued to see what they saw in practice translate to the offseason moves, because I still have a lot of hope for him. I still think he's going to be the Swiss Army knife type player. I don't think he's a Zach Ertz replacement. I don't think he's a John Bates necessarily replacement. I think he might be a combo. But for the production, it was a D+.
Oh yeah, and I guess that's a little bit more harsh. I had to give him incomplete because I didn't want to hurt the man's feelings. I didn't want to hurt his feelings because there's a part of me, and I mentioned this to you and Ab, that he kind of gives me that Samus Reyes vibe, or somewhere in between Samus Reyes, which is a project, and Cole Turner, which we had high expectations for, and that never panned out. So I kind of, and again, who knows what he really is, because we really have not gotten to see him outside of special teams or outside of a blocking role. So it really doesn't give us much to go on. But for where he got picked, I totally understand what you're talking about. And moving on to the next pick, the one that I like, I really am happy for, my most surprised player, Brandon Coleman. Will, what you think about him, man, and getting him and having him as a starter this year?
I gave him a B+. I was going to go A. I just dropped it down just to be slightly, a little more critical, because of the fact that there were moments where he got beat. He might have hit a rookie wall for all we know. Against the Eagles, he had some pretty bad moments out there. But he was a 3rd-round pick. People said they kind of knew some potential. Some of the draft scouts were saying he should be a guard. Well, we put him on the outside and said, nope, we're fine with it. I like the way they used him, where they were rotating him with Cornelius Lucas in the beginnings for him to kind of learn the process and get an opportunity to play a little bit, see something, play a little bit, see something, get some tutelage out there. So he far surpassed our expectations, being able to man, once he got healthy, man the left tackle spot all season, and he did a pretty darn good job.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And for me, before this season, I like to think of myself as somebody that knows college ball. I was coming in looking like, who is this guy again? Like who are we getting? And the fact that you and I had been saying all first round, second round, hey, give us a lineman, give us a tackle, give us somebody, because we need to protect the investment. And when they got this guy, it was kind of like, here we go. Then I got shades of what's his name? Who we had last year?
Rated
Daniel. Yes. Yeah. Who was absolute bust. And we got him right around, I think that was the 4th round where we got him. That just did not pan out at all. So obviously hindsight, I'm looking back at that and like, okay, what can you do? But to your point, they threw him in there, and it was one of those, they threw him in the deep end and he learned how to swim. And yes, he's had moments that didn't look great. Sweat and the boys at Philly, had him on the spin cycle because they were getting all around him. But I went the same thing. I went with the B+ too, because I didn't have any expectations of him. So he definitely far exceeded that. But he held his own. He was able to stay on the field for the majority of the season. Like, the fact that you come into a season not knowing who this guy is, and then he's not only able to play, but play well and solidify that side of the line, that's huge. That's huge, man. So we definitely got more than what we bargained for. And I'm super excited that we were able to get that. And especially to my point earlier, if we're able to keep him and develop him and then have this guy, we talk about Jaden, having him on that kind of the rookie contract. You have a guy like this on a rookie contract, and then you play him 4 or 5 years, and then he'll eventually get paid, and we can get those years out of him. I love that. That. So B+ for me. Moving on to the next one, the brother of what old once MVP of the league, Mr. Christian McCaffrey, Luke McCaffrey. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to take a page at Will's book and just be harsh. I couldn't even give this guy an incomplete to spare him. I gave him a D+. And the plus is because he has a McCaffrey name, and I'm hoping he shows up later because he was on the field this year. Now, mind you, all year we were like, okay, who's the second, who's the number 2 receiver? So there was 3 or 4 guys that were vying for that number 2 shot. He might not have got all the attention that he needed, but he also didn't separate himself. He didn't go out there and make himself, make me get the ball, throw me the ball, make them notice me and everything like that. And yes, maybe we got a little big-eyed because we saw the name and we're like, oh, could he be even half as good as his brother? Well, we didn't see that this year. Who knows? Hopefully they keep him in rotation. We know this guy is very versatile, as being that he played a little quarterback in college. But from what we saw and where he was drafted, I expected a lot more. I expected a little bit more, and we didn't get anything. So that I was very disappointed at that. I still hold out hope. Yes, partially because of the last name, but 2, because I know if the coaching staff and the front office saw something in him, then it might not be just a 1-year deal. It might be something where they're seeing something that can really grow. You give him 1 year to learn the offense, and then year 2, he really explodes on the offense. So I'm hoping that he will, not that he's listening, but take this and be challenged by it and get better. But from what I saw, I was definitely disappointed, man. I was definitely disappointed. What you think?
I was not as harsh as you, so I gave him a C. But I echo a lot of what you said. And what was interesting was I felt there were opportunities out there that I thought he may step up, and it just didn't happen. I felt as a wide receiver, he showed more in the beginning of the season, the first 8 games, and then he kind of trailed off. That there were moments when he would make 1 or 2 catches, for us in the game that would be a first down, and so they were impactful. I wasn't going to give him a D only because he then switched to be a kick returner, and so like he was involved, he was on the field, and so because of that, he wasn't very impactful, but he also wasn't really making mistakes. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to give you a C because he too is a developmental player. And they did say when he was drafted, he probably wasn't necessarily meant to be a first-year contributor, but let's watch what kind of jumps he has. So I'm not giving up on him at all, and I'm curious to see how he fits into their wide receiver room moving forward. So I'm really excited to see him in year 2. But, I was hoping we get a little bit more out of him than we did.
Yeah, definitely. And, I mean, look, we obviously, we saw the name. So there was part of that was kind of like, it's in the blood. You know about his dad, about his siblings, everything like that. But again, you got to learn the offense. It has to be the right fit. So we'll see, and I'm excited to see going forward. Another player I'm excited to see going forward, Jordan McGee out of Temple. Didn't get that much on the field. I gave him a C. And that's more on potential, more on the fact that I know it could have been incomplete. I know, but it's more on the potential of what could have been. Look, the reason why I say that is because not to be a spoiler, but the last two got incompletes for me. So I didn't want to have four incompletes. And Dominique Hampton and Javonte Jean-Baptiste.
Baptiste was part of the rotation.
Okay, he didn't jump off to me as much. All right, I'm gonna be honest with you on that. And I'm gonna be honest with you on Jordan McGee. No, he was not in there, but I did not expect him to do anything. I was more excited about him coming in, being kind of like Mikey Samerstill, where he had a great presence about him. He was a captain, he was one of those guys that was a star in college when he gets in. But I knew the fact that he had Luvu and Wagner and those guys ahead of him, he wasn't going to get in if he was healthy enough to even play. So to hear that he was able to kind of get in there later on in the year, it gave me hope that he could be. But again, this is a lot of this for me is expectations. Like where Luke, I thought Luke did seaworthy work, but I also expected Luke to be a lot higher for me. And that's just biased because of the name. Mm-hmm. McGee coming out of Temple. What's the last dominant player that you've heard come out of Temple? When's the last player you've heard that come out of Temple that's done anything in the league? I mean, I'd have to really think about that. Todd Bowles, I could say that's in the 80s, but there's been players since then. But I was not expecting much of anything outside of the character and culture issues. And yeah, he didn't get much in. And I'm pulling it out of the air because I know this could have very well been incomplete, but I am hoping for him to be up. Did you give him incomplete?
I did. Yeah, because he got hurt at the beginning of the season and was out like 14 out of 17 games. Right. So it wasn't his it's not a knock on him. And they were really impressed with him at training camp. So that injury was a big disappointment because he was flashing at training camp, playing linebacker. I don't remember if he was the middle linebacker or if he was playing off ball, but he was showing a lot of speed and athleticism. And there was a lot of excitement of him. And then he got his knee injury, and I'm glad he came back and played special teams, but the season was an incomplete for him, of which was meant to be a development season mostly anyway. So that's why I'm like, how are you giving him a C when he didn't play, but you're ripping McCaffrey who actually played?
Potential.
Oh my
God. And where I view it. Yeah, no. And at the very end, it could be that. And if I was to give I could, for me, it's what the potential was. I didn't have him getting on the field at all. So the fact that he was able to, even with special teams, I'm not going to justify this.
Give him an A. Moving. He got on the field. Yeah. He didn't think he would.
A+. Yeah. And Jaden, I'm going to regrade Jaden down to a D. All right. All right. Dominique Hampton, next pick. What is your thoughts on him?
Yeah, he has to be an incomplete. The dude didn't. Yep. I don't know if he dressed any of the games. I feel like he was inactive every game. He was picked to develop, and we'll see whether he's a safety, linebacker, see how they use him this upcoming year. But I mean, this was a redshirt season for him, so incomplete.
Love it. And since we know that you didn't go the same way, what's Javonte Jean-Baptiste? What did you give him?
So for being a 7th round pick and being part of our defensive line rotation, I gave him a B+ because that's a huge value. Now, I don't view him any more than I viewed James Smith-Williams and Casey Toohill to say, it's fine while you're here, but in 2 years, I don't want you on this roster. I want us to upgrade it from it. But to be a 7th round pick and to be in the mix during games, I think shows an extreme value pick there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I'll default to you on that one.
Incomplete.
Yeah, I wasn't. Look, I saw him in rotation, and I guess that it based on my gradings from guys before, then yes, he should be graded.
You and these incomplete. What kind of teacher would you be if you had to do this? Kids wouldn't even listen. Stalling when they got to Mr. Spencer.
I'd have tenured kids that have been in my class for 3 or 4 years, all right, because they do not get tests. But the fact that he got in, the fact that he was a 7th rounder, the fact that he's all that stuff. I mean, more power to him to all that he was able to do. And yeah, maybe I'll default to a C for that fact. But at the same time, I also kind of look at everything underneath Jordan McGee as you're lucky to have a contract. You're lucky to be here. So, by default, I would incomplete them. But yeah, I'll give it the fact that he was on the field. I'll give him some shout out, some love for that. Good. Those are the grades for the draft. And if you might disagree with me, but it's all good. Definitely let us know what your grades are.
Dun, 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 dun.
Let's go. The Washington Commanders. There it is.